You lot, we're now joined by Bally and Karen, who play Romeo and Juliet. And before we see part 3, I thought we'd better ask them a few questions of our own. Now, let's get this in context, just so these guys remember. Things are pretty desperate. The young lovers have now left and banished. Romeo's banished, and Juliet's distraught, and also she's distraught after the argument with her father, but also because she's betrothed to this weirdo Paris, which I don't like. What is going on with these two characters right now? Where are they? We'll start with you, Bally.
Yeah, so he's banished and he's gone, and he's distraught, but because of Friar Lawrence and what Friar Lawrence has told him in terms of, you know, go away and I will we'll sort it all out and just stay there until I send word to you. He's just accepted it, and he's gone away, and he's waiting for the next stage, the next step.
And Karen, what's going on with Juliet now? What's going on in her head?
Yeah, it couldn't be worse, really. I mean, at this point, it looks like she's running out of options. She is going to have to marry Paris, which just seems ludicrous.
Personally, I don't like him, but...
Yeah, I'm getting that impression.
I like him, man.
Which, it just can't happen. She's already married to Romeo. She's, you know, grasping at straws now. Her father's disowned her. Her mother doesn't want anything to do with her. Even her most loyal friend, the nurse, is saying, you know, maybe you should just do what they tell you. Unbelievable. So, yeah, she's going to the friar now. Yeah,
the nurse surprised me, actually, because I thought actually should stick with her. She's more of a mother figure to her in many respects. So what is the plan now moving forward? Where did these guys go?
I think...
without spoiling it too much.
Yeah, that's going to spoil it too much. That's a little bit, but it's kind of, for Romeo, it's just kind of waiting it out, and Romeo knows he will see Juliet again, and that's what he's holding out till. That's what he's waiting for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karen?
Yeah, at this point, Juliet is going to Friar Lawrence as a last option, and if he can't provide an answer, she's going to have to take it into her own hands. Interesting.
Now let's get a couple of questions before we go into the next part. We've got one here from Bridie from Momarca Hill Primary School. Says, why did Romeo and Juliet get married so soon after meeting instead of getting to know each other first? Great idea, right? In principle. Do you want to take that?
Well, Juliet asks Romeo to marry her, and I think we don't have much time, and we know that we're part of two different families. I'm a Montague and Juliet's a Capulet, and it's about the bond, and it's about making that commitment to each other, which I think is really key.
Okay, interesting. One here from Jack from SS Osmond and Andrew RCP says, why did Lord Capulet let Romeo stay at the party? Interesting.
You may be better to answer that than me.
Yeah, it's in terms of kind of not wanting to disrupt. The princess come out and said, if anything else happens again, your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace. So that, you know, you'll pay with your lives, really. And so what Capulet, I think, is trying to do is just to smooth everything out. He's had this massive party. He knows that Romeo is there, from what Thibault has said, and he's just gone, you know what? It's fine, it's cool, relax, we're having a party, it's all cool, it's all fun. He's a nice guy, yeah, he's, you know, yeah, and he's not started anything, so it's okay, just chill out.
All right, interesting, interesting. Now, quick one from Max in UOB School says, how do you believe the relationship between Lady Capulet and the nurse affects Juliet? Very quickly.
I think it makes it very difficult for Juliet. You know, it's flesh and blood with her mother and her loyalties for this mother-like figure, for the nurse. Yeah, I think it's very difficult. They're sort of battling over her, so maybe just she keeps her mouth shut a bit more than she maybe would.
Look, guys, look, play's ended. Wonderful play. Congratulations. And I know so many of the young people watching really engage with it. In fact, this is the most questions we've ever had in for a live broadcast, so big up to you guys, right? All right, let's try and rattle through a few questions, because I know we've got a bit more time left. So let's start with this one here. This one's from a student from Stratford-upon-Avon Primary School. The question says, why do the Montagues and Capulets hate each other so much?
Oh, I think the rivalry is so old that no one can actually remember what it's about anymore. Maybe it's to do with territory and power, probably money, but it's never really stated exactly what it is. But yeah, I guess everyone's sort of forgotten which makes it even more silly that it exists because we don't know why they were fighting.
So true, so true. One here from Kane from Blue Coats Beechdale Academy says, how did you manage to make Romeo and Juliet's relationship appear believable on stage? I mean, that's kind of like, your acting's pretty dope then, really. I mean, did you have to work on it? Is it just something, did it come through rehearsals, or how did that all come together?
We went through a couple of stages. We did an audition to get the parts, and we did a chemistry test, which is to see if we're, compatible, if we get along with each other, I suppose, as well. But we also did, we did a lot of stuff. We did a lot of physical work as well, and a lot of movement-based things in the rehearsal room, and with the director and with the movement director as well.
How was it so realistic?
Yeah, I suppose in some ways there's a lot of trust involved, and drawing on your own experiences, and it's a really special, intimate thing that you have to have with each other. And it's amazing when it feels that safe space that you can put your feelings on the table.
Yeah, wow, okay. Amazing. Right, I'm hoping this will work. We've got a Skype call now. Yes, from Upton Meadows Primary School. Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Hi. So, what is your question?
My question is, how did you prepare for your roles and what was most difficult?
Oh, how did you prepare for your roles and what was most difficult? Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I looked into a lot of teenagers around the world in different situations in war zones and things like that to try and see what Juliet's situation might be like. And the challenges for me was trying to get to the absolute heights and the absolute depths of the emotional scale, which I found really challenging. And to this day, I'm still working away to try and make it as real as possible.
Yeah. And what about you? How did you prepare for your role?
When I was reading Romeo, it was a lot of my youth in there. A lot of my youth.
Well, you were soppy youth then.
Juliet. But a lot of it is my friends as well.
Yeah.
Like people I grew up with who were, we kind of did all the things that Romeo do and that kind of stuff. So a lot of it was kind of looking at, trying to take myself back, but also for my friends and stuff like that. And then getting used to the language as well, and making it, try and embody it as well, like make it a part of myself. So there's no, I'm not doing like a Shakespeare voice, I suppose, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Amazing. Did you get the answer to your question?
Yeah.
What's your name, by the way?
My name is Melina.
Nice to meet you, Melina. Hey. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye. All right, nice one. All right, let's move on. Well done, Melina. Good question. Now, I've got one here from Laura, from Laura's homeschool. I think Laura's been homeschooled. She says, if Romeo and Juliet had not died, do you think their love would have lasted? Interesting question, actually.
Such a good question. I feel yes. I feel like they probably would have had to work at it.
It would rather happen very quickly.
like all good relationships.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? They might grow into completely different people. Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, it sped up very quickly. Yeah. A very eager-hearted Romeo as well. Do you think it would have lasted?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would have. And because love conquers all, man.
Oh, this guy coming out with the lyrics today. All right, Libby from Springhead Primary School says, do you think that the older generation in the play could learn more from the younger generation, or the other way around?
I think they can. I think in terms of being set in your ways and trying to find, with Romeo's, with his arc, we were always in terms of, in the rehearsal room, we're always talking about what's inner peace and how to find inner peace. And I find that sometimes us, a younger generation, are trying to seek that out a little bit more, and are more willing to listen and learn rather than just take it for what it is. And I think that's something.
Do you think there's something with the older generation could learn from the younger generation in this, in many respects?
Gosh, yeah, I think the young characters in the show go through monumental things and are able to withstand it for a long time. And yeah, I think it's good to not underestimate what young people have in them.
Yeah, interesting. One here from Eloise from Peel Community College says, do you think Tybalt is an honourable character? Interesting question.
I know, that's such a good question. And I suppose, I think he is, but it depends what you, what's honourable and whether it's honourable to do a good thing or a bad thing. If you're sticking to your guns and for what you truly believe in to protect the ones you love, with bad outcome, I think it's probably still honourable, but maybe damaging. But I think he is honourable.
I think you're in a different position, I guess, on the Tybalt debate.
Well, I don't know. When we were first reading the part and what people assume Tybalt is, I always think, you know, him and Paris can be seen as the good guys, because actually, in terms of like the events that happen, we end up coming to. He loves to fight. Tybalt loves to fight, but we end up going to his party. We end up are the ones that are, you know, we don't start a fight initially, but we're the ones that antagonize him in a certain degree, and Mercutio does as well, and so we're all to blame for it. It's just not one-sided.
Yeah,
so I always see him as kind of like the hero.
All right, interesting. One here from Fred Longworth High School says, do you feel that Romeo is a character that we should admire? Interesting. Considering he takes a bit of poison at the end, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think there's admirable bits. I think he's charming, witty, funny. I think there's loads of him. He's flawed, like everyone, you know, but I do think he, you know, I understand why people fall in love with him and how he is as a person. But yeah, don't take the poison.
Don't take the poison.
Guys. Don't do it.
But you know, I think this is always what's quite interesting about Shakespeare and some of these plays is that we see the true dynamics of being a human being. You don't just see one dimension. You know, you see the anger, you see the love, you see the passion, you see all those things. And we are those people. We are flawed characters. Not one person treads one line through life.
I think that's something that, like, I was very conscious of when we were going up for the parts, in terms of like who these people are, and not playing the. What, you know, when you hear Romeo, lover, those kind of things, you kind of go, I don't really want to. There's more in there. There's more levels, and it's more layered than that. So
I agree.
Cool. Got one here from Macy from Newcastle High School for Girls. Says, what lessons can a modern day audience learn from this play? Wow, that's a pretty good one. What can we take in the modern day from this play?
Gosh, I mean, I guess the obvious things, sort of. How damaging, like pent up anger and violence can be. I mean, that seems like such an obvious thing, but it's still sort of happening now. And I don't know, what could the world be like if we all just tried to understand each other a little bit better?
I think it's that destruction. I think you're right in terms of how to deal with anger and frustration, and how to resolve that, and to not feel like you have to lash out to other people for that. Like, you know, there's a better way of dealing with it, and that's just trying to find that inner peace in a sense. Like, you know, sometimes, you know, I find it in my life. You know what I mean? Trying to find, you know, that bit to just go, you know, calm down.
Just
it's
chill
all
out
good.
a little bit. Just think about it first.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm with you. Right. I've been told by my director that we've got another Skype call, which is amazing. Guys from Pedmore High School, got two students. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. What are your names, by the way?
I'm Beth.
Hello, Beth.
And I'm Elijah.
Nice to meet you both. Right, what's your question?
Do you believe that love can be victorious over hate, and why?
Do you believe love can be victorious over hate, and why? Good question.
As the inner peace guy, I'm going to say yes. Guys, I'm going to say yes. And always, yeah. I think so.
Love over hate?
Yeah, definitely. It's got to be, otherwise what do we have? We need to keep working towards that.
Wonderful. Good question, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, they were very, very excited. All right, one here from Daniel from Towers School says, what's the biggest challenge about taking on roles of characters who are so well known? Was there a pressure to that? It's a very famous play.
Yeah, but it's funny because you wonder if actually the pressure just comes from yourself. It's like, am I putting the pressure on myself? And our director, Erica, was amazing at stripping that away. And in many ways, I felt like it was a new piece of writing. Try to approach it that way, and not think about all the famous people that have played Juliet and Romeo before you, and seeing all the pictures of them, and just going, this is fresh. This is new, and I didn't know the play very well either. So yeah, it was new to me. So it was, I was just going, oh, look at this new piece of writing. I get to have a go at it. So that helped me, sort of tricking myself.
Just before this, we were talking about sort of how people prepare for roles and stuff. You're Romeo, well-known character. did you feel the pressure? Or did you look at other renditions of Romeo?
Yeah, well, so when I was at school, it was the Leonardo DiCaprio version.
Oh yeah, the Baz Luhrmann
The Baz
one.
Luhrmann
Yeah,
version.
yeah, yeah.
And that was something that, that was my introduction to Shakespeare of any kind. So I think that was something, I always had him in my head. And then when I went back to go and watch it, it's cut quite a lot. So like all the big speeches, I couldn't copy a lot of it. But in Karen and is right in terms of what Erica was trying to make us do was this was it was like a new slate, like it was a new start, and what could we bring as people? So I'm from Coventry, so it was kind of going, okay, so what does does a Romeo from, with all my experiences and me being from Coventry look like and sound like, and how do they move and that was something that I kind of went, okay, it doesn't have to be like this, it doesn't have to be like that, it can just be what it is.
Yeah, there was a freedom,
Yeah.
which was so exciting for us to be who we are from the corners of where we grew up in Coventry and Glasgow.
But I mean, that's the reality of it, and I think that's what flies out from stage, is that actually these stories are not gender specific, they're not ethnicity specific, they are just stories, and actually you bringing yourselves into it is as valid as the characters themselves, really.
Yeah, it's an exciting thing.
Wicked. Okay, one here from a student at Durham Johnson at school says, what, in your opinion, is the most important scene?
I feel like it might be, well, for me personally, I think it could be that moment in The Lark and the Nightingale.
Okay.
When Romeo suddenly decides he's going to stay, that massive act of love, and then Juliet going, no, you must go, you can't stay here and die, and that massive act of love after everything they've been through. For me, those two moments where they both are just laying everything out, I think that's huge. I think that is the most powerful moment for me.
About you, same, or?
Yeah, same, but also I think in terms of where the play massively shifts, is when Mercutio dies. And when someone actually, you see someone first actually die in the play, because it's funny and it's comedy and it's quite light and it's quite, they are feuding with each other in terms of like Montagues and Capulets. But when someone actually dies, and then when Romeo kills Tybalt, he knows it's changed, it's rocked the world forever, and I think that's something he knows that he can't come back from, and he goes a little bit insane with knowing that he's done that to this person as well. Like,
Okay. A question here actually about a character I particularly like. It's one from Annalise in Lock End Community High School. Says, do you think the friar made the right decision to marry them? You both look at each other going, oh, what do you reckon? Good idea?
How could he not? I think it's difficult for him, and he just acts with his heart. It all comes back to love, always, but I think he does
It's the love for both.
Yeah.
we pressurize him, don't we? We do. We pressurize. We put him in awkward, horrible positions where,
And he's a holy man.
And he's a holy man,
Yeah.
and he thinks he's doing the right thing, and he's trying to do the right thing
What
because
else would he have done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he knows that we don't speak to our parents like that. We've got no one except for him. He is the person we go to for mum, dad, and what else was he gonna do?
Okay, one here from Holly says, Holly from Market Bosworth School says, how do you think Juliet felt before she took the potion? Ooh, so many mixed feelings there, right?
So many, but I always think of Juliet as a problem solver. I think if she went on to be a career woman, she would have been a paramedic, because I think she's very logical in thinking about, okay, here's a problem, how am I going to get myself out of this? But this one is just so massive, she can't, her mind just totally goes out of control. So I think it all gets a bit, snowballs up. So yes, terrified, and just she can't keep a hold of her thoughts.
Okay, one here from Isabel from Dowdell School says, do you think Lady C can relate to Juliet's predicament? If so, why does she react the way that she actually does?
Yeah, we talked a lot about that actually in rehearsal. At the beginning, when she's going to be partnered off to Paris, I think Lady C probably went through a lot of, probably everything that Juliet did in that thing. I think they have that unspoken bond, which is probably a really special thing. But Juliet has the opportunity to get out of it, which is probably the only difference.
Different. Okay, all right, fair enough. A student here from Brockington College says, where does Mercutio stand in loyalty between the two houses? That's not a bad question,
That's
actually.
not a bad question. You know, she hangs out with us. Like, so she hangs out with us, but you know, she's cousin to the prince. You know,
She's the house of
blood.
Aeschylus, isn't
Aeschylus,
she?
yeah.
I didn't know that when we started.
Yeah.
There's another house.
So yeah.
Way too many houses, man.
Yeah.
But she's our friend, but she's also the person that gets us into the party as well.
Yeah.
So you know,
She's the hookup.
She's the hookup, man. There's got to be one.
Yeah, of course, right? Callum from the Morley Academy says, why did you decide to have the scene set around a cube shape? That's not bad. That's more to do with stage design. Why was there just one massive cube in the middle? Why were all the scenes set around that?
Yeah, we wanted to create different levels as well. We wanted to have a space that was like adaptable and changeable and could be, you know, like to create height for this balcony, non-balcony scene, and also to be, you know, to run inside as well. And so I think that was something that we kind of needed, a space that was able to transform itself quite a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One here from Harmondeep. From Uxbridge High School says, why is Romeo and Juliet still being performed today when it's around 400 years old? That is a valid question.
Yeah.
I guess the language is just so beautiful, and he's written such amazing characters. Like Romeo and Juliet, I both think are amazing characters, and all the others as well. And I think probably the language and just the story overall is like just gets you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's relatable, man. It's just really
explained
relatable.
it so well. I was like, where do we go from here? Okay, one final question from me. Whose fault do you think it is that they both end up dead?
It's everyone's fault. It's everyone's fault. Everyone is to blame. I think it is. I think everyone is to blame for it. And no one is faultless. I think that's something that.
Yeah, it's a culmination of different circumstances, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, look, I enjoyed both the performances in it, and I thought it was a really fresh look at Romeo and Juliet. And look, by the amount of reception we've got from these young kids and the questions they have asked, you've done a really great job. So thank you very much for joining us as well. And if you haven't caught this Q&A fully, you can also head over to YouTube tomorrow. You can watch it again. And there's also another live broadcast based around Romeo and Juliet in April. So keep your eye out for that. Thank you to everyone here who's been involved in the broadcast. Thank you very much for joining us. And for us, we'll see you next time for the next broadcast. Have a good one. See you soon. Bye-bye.